dirt track at that time, and then it switched to its current configuration of a half-mile facility. Tonight's race, 200 laps, the first ARCA race held back in 1970 here at this racetrack. Last year's champ, by the way, Austin Terrio, he's here in attendance, not driving. He was the winner of this race, and this is the 10th ARCA race at Madison International Speedway.
And Bob, this track since 2011 has been on the schedule all but for 1 year, and it's been really a proving grounds, and it really is part of the heart of the Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge. And when we break things down, there's 11 races on that Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge for the drivers 18 and under, and the veterans to score points and a championship within the series.
Here's a look at that Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge. Taking a look at this, 11 races, tracks 1 mile or less in length, and we got quite the points battle in this one. Zane Smith actually leads that standings heading into this one.
And speaking of points, here's our overall points. Sheldon Creed with that big win at Michigan takes over the point lead. A 70-point gain on Zane Smith in just one race as 5 points are paid per position. A huge win for Sheldon to take over the lead from his teammate.
Yeah, Sheldon Creed not running all too well throughout practice and qualifying. We'll talk about that. Here are some of the guys a little bit further back in the point standings, but we talked about guys getting that momentum right now. You take a look at a guy like Riley Hearst, 3 straight top 5 finishes. Gus Dean, 2 straight
to the test as well. Physically demanding, very hot day today. She's got a lot of pressure on herself, I think, because not only there's a long autograph line waiting to see her and wish her well, but this does mean a lot to her to race in her home state for the only time this year.
Sheldon Creed in the 28, the point leader coming into this one. Travis Braden with a great qualifying effort. We'll talk more about him, but right now let's go down to the third member of our team here on MAV TV for tonight's racing action, Mike Wallace.
Well, guys, it's a hot night down here in Madison, Wisconsin, and talking about Natalie Decker. This is right up the street, or down the street from where Natalie grew up, and she says there's no reason she can't perform tonight. It's in her home backyard, doing her thing, everything. She's planning on racing all night long.
Natalie Decker getting strapped behind the wheel of that Venturini Motorsports N29, number 25 race car here. She was not happy with her qualifying run, but let's take a look at some of the winners here at Madison since 2011. And I think the key thing here, Jim, to note is that all of the winners have been under 25 years old. Chase Purdy in the number 8, Zane Smith in the 41, both teammates for MDM Motorsports. Gus Dean in the Green Machine had a great run at Michigan International Speedway. His best run of the year, first top 5 of the season for Gus Dean. And we apologize for some audio difficulties right now, but as you can see, the team's getting ready for the command to fire the engines here around this half-mile speed plant. This place is incredible. I had not been here since 2002. So excited to be here again at Madison International Speedway. Downstairs for the command.
Race fans, it is time for the most famous words in motorsports. And to get us started here tonight at Madison International Speedway, marketing manager from Hearst Foods, Mr. Eric Kramer.
What a great night for racing. On behalf of Hearst Foods, I'd like to welcome you to the Hearst Potato Chip 200. We'd like to thank our partners at Menards, where you can buy all of our delicious snacks. I'm looking forward to an exciting night. I hope you all are too. Drivers, start your engines!
Out from the West Coast. hoping to make her name here in the ARCA Racing Series.
Right next to her, Tommy Vi, his first ARCA start as well here at Madison.
By the way, Darrell Basham in the field, starting for the Kimmel Motorsports team in the 69, and his son Mike is in the field, and I heard there's a little rivalry that might be settled here tonight.
Mike said, you know, I've raced with my dad before, but I have got a payback. Charlestown, Indiana, 1987. He said, Dad wrecked me. There's a lot of interest built up in that. We'll see if they get together tonight.
The Bashams are part of the cornerstone of what makes the ARCA Racing Series special. Here we go. Time to get kick-started here in Wisconsin, Madison International Speedway. And it's Chandler Smith and Travis Braden leading the field to the first turn. All the talk in the pit area today was how this track was going to be a one-groove track, and you needed to be on the bottom, but that right there by Travis Braden, the two-time ARCA CRA Super Series champion, proved that you can use the outside and get the lead.
Well, Chandler Smith is not going to wait long. He's going to challenge back on the inside, that black Craftsman Toyota. First time he's actually led the field to the green flag and not led the first lap for Smith in the 15. So this is a different challenge for him. Settling into a groove is not yet where he's at, as again Braden on the outside, that Ford. Now is a great run through the corner. Smith squared it off and went low off of turn 4. The Jersey barrier you see there is not there for the weekly competition here at Madison. So it does change the line a little bit. None of the drivers, I'd say, aside from Natalie Decker, have a ton of laps here, though. So that's a new thing that everybody's learning their first or second time here at Madison.
The 15-year-old Chandler Smith to the front of the field. Now here comes Riley Hearst, another teenager, to the inside of Travis Braden in the 27. Riley Hearst, we mentioned him. That momentum he's building in the last 3 races. 2 second-place runs and a top 5 as well. So he feels like he's got that mojo cooking as we enter the midpoint of the season.
And tomorrow, a big debut for this young man. He got a notice about a week and a half ago. He'll be racing at Iowa Speedway tomorrow in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, making his debut in the NASCAR National Series in the number 18 for Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity race.
There is Zane Smith in the number 41. 3 wins to his credit so far this season. The Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge point leader. Second in overall points here in ARCA. And as you mentioned, his qualifying run was not what he had hoped for. But at the same time, talking to Marty Lindley today, this team has never competed here at Madison. And because of that, they feel like they were maybe a little bit behind. They guessed on the setup and they were just a touch off, but they felt like they got it better by the time they got to qualify. Yellow flag now in the air, 8 laps into this one here at Madison International Speedway, and trouble for the man that sits 9th in points coming into this one, Joe Graff Jr. And the only reason he's 9th in points is because he did not run the initial race of the year at Daytona. This kid has turned a lot of heads. Yeah, he actually started further up in the field and had an okay start, actually. He was qualified in the 6th position, dropped back a few spots, so perhaps a handling issue early on. Getting comfortable here. We practiced in the deep sunshine here, 1:15 to 3 o'clock Central Time. Sun was baking on the track. It got hot and slick. We had 2 laps of qualifying at 5 o'clock, lined them back up. Nothing they could really do to change these cars. So his veteran crew chief, Paul Andrews, and Joe Graff got together. Joe felt he had a comfortable race car, but that change of weather may have affected how Joe made the initial start here, dropped back a few spots, and now has put a salute that number 77 big time Ford around. Look at the 2 teenagers leading the field. 15-year-old Chandler Smith, 19-year-old Riley Herbst. Big weekend for him, as you mentioned, doing the double. He'll actually leave this racetrack here tonight, hop on a plane, go to Iowa Speedway, and practice the NASCAR Xfinity Series car. Tomorrow, race on Sunday for Joe Gibbs Racing. He told me he's a little nervous, honestly.
As he should be. There's a lot of pressure there. 5 wins in the Xfinity Series for Joe Gibbs Racing at Iowa Speedway. So in terms of getting involved, he said, we're in the same shop. Our ARCA cars are in the same shop as the Xfinity Series cars. Joe Gibbs Racing, a top-notch operation, giving this young man a great opportunity. He thought he would run the truck race first at Gateway, and that would be a double with ARCA and the truck series in the same weekend. So this does upset him a little bit in a good way, I think.
We spoke to Riley Herbst about the big weekend earlier today.
Yeah, there's big opportunities for me on this weekend. After this race is done, I'm flying straight to Iowa to race in the Xfinity car for Joe Gibbs Racing in the 18, which I'm really excited about. But to be honest with you, pretty nervous too, because big names have been in that car this year and they've won too. So there are no really expectations. I'm just really going out there to log laps and learn from the best in the business and try to make myself a better race car driver.
And I believe that Riley is a guy that really rides that confidence, train, and he's got that confidence. After a tough start to the season, he's now third in points, and now, catching that wave that he needs to possibly propel him to his second victory of his career in ARCA.
And he wants it badly. He told me right before the race, he said, I want it. I want to win this race. I want it in every race, but today I have a new mission. I need to win as many races as I can to get back in this points championship. We also just saw the number 11 of Dick Carth on pit road for Andy Hillenberg's team. He had Dick Trickle Memorial Project on his quarter panel. That's a project to raise money for a memorial being built in Dick's hometown of Rudolph, Wisconsin, right up on Highway 13 in the park. And it's beautiful. It's coming along great. But Dick Carter certainly wanted to get a better message than a couple laps on the racetrack in that 11 for Dick Trickle's Memorial Project tonight.
Saw some cool pictures of Dick Trickle around this Madison International Speedway today. Greg McCarnes, his wife Angie, do such a phenomenal job with this racetrack. One of the best in the nation. Getting set for a restart here. Now on the front row, it's Chandler Smith and Riley Hearst.
Bit of a pinch down there by Herbst that time on the restart.
Look at Eddie Thatcher in the number 20. Thatcher, just his second start in ARCA competition, now running in third, working his way by the 27 of Travis Braden. So the kid out of Long Island, New York, showing his strength early here at Madison.
He's not been here before, so I asked him, how did you prepare? He said, I've watched tapes. I talked to my teammate Christian Eckes, who races in the short tracks, and now is about to make his Xfinity debut and the Truck Series debut as well for Joe Gibbs Racing. So leaning on as much experience he can via videotape and phone calls to get a handle on this half mile in Wisconsin.
But he's caught on the outside groove, and we all know after a couple of laps, after a restart, that outside groove is the tough way around this racetrack, and you can see it come into play right here with the 27 of Braden being able to kind of get back underneath him. And I believe if it stays this way in a couple of laps, Travis Braden will be back to third.
And I know that some young aggressive drivers are sitting right behind that pair. Perhaps they're slowing them down a bit. There's a gap between this battle for third and the leaders. Here comes Zane Smith to the inside now, trying to gain position on the 27 of Braden. 1 year ago, Bob, we got to 3 wide racing here for a number of laps on restarts, and I'm telling you, that may come in tonight. The weather's cooling a bit, still very humid, but that could cause maybe some aggressiveness to pay off, because I know Tanner Thorson a year ago, man, that kid went 3 wide in one of his few Venturini starts here in 2017.
You talk about aggressive. Look at that 41, Zane Smith trying to come through the field. He wants his 4th victory of the year, but he's got a long way to go to get that. Only 17 laps complete here at Madison. It's the Hearst Potato Chips 200 from Madison International Speedway for the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. And early in this race, just 21 laps complete, we have our second caution of the race. And it's for that gentleman coming in 10th in points, Con Nicolopoulos. Winds up going around in the corner here in that 06. Let's take a look.
Just at pit entry there, he's got the orange cone about to hit the double big barrels. At pit entry, I think he was just trying to get out of the way, but it flattens out right there at pit entry. It's a tricky spot. So when these guys do, and gals decide to make that pit stop once or twice, getting down and woed down and getting down on pit road will be a challenge. And Con, I think, was just trying to slow down and move out of the way as the leaders are coming upon him and just looped it around.
ARCA officials tell us that the 48 of Brad Smith will be the free pass car during this caution period. This time by, we'll get 1 to go before we go back to racing. So not much of a rhythm really being set right now here at Madison.
Travis Braden led from the outside of the front row for the first couple of laps. Then Chandler Smith took over again. Smith has led a bunch of laps in the short track portion of the season. Again, just 15 years of age. He's allowed to race on the tracks that are a mile and less in length, as well as at Pocono and at Gateway if he elects to do that.
We've been talking a little bit about some of the keys to this race, and here's the General Tire Trado's keys to the race here at Madison.
Once things settle in, the braking zones will be very difficult to overcome. A lot of teams are putting a lot of brake ducting into the front and rear tires where they actually want to get blowing air on those brake discs. Drive off of turn 2, I think, is key. There's a black rectangle patch in that corner The teams have talked about that. The drivers that have been here before have talked about it. That's a key, getting off a turn number 2. And when it comes down to the final run here, you've got to be in position. Got to be in position. And Sheldon Creed believes if he's in the top 4 or 5 on a restart late in the race, that's when he thinks his chance will be there. Getting into that position at this track will be paramount throughout the race.
It's honestly a lot about survival on a half-mile bull ring like Madison. Save the brakes, save your car, make sure you have something to battle with at the end of the race. Now, here we go. Once again, the 15 of Chandler Smith gets a good restart once again. Oh, look at Riley Hearst. He knew he wanted to get to the bottom groove, and honestly, maybe didn't step on that throttle pedal right when Chandler did to be able to squeeze right into second. And look who's in third now, Zane Smith.
Cordial move by Zane Smith to allow that 18 car to sneak in there. It helps that the number 18 spotter is Shannon Rush, car chief and last year's crew chief with this young racer, Riley Hearst. So getting him in position was critical there. And I should correct myself. You have to be 17 to race at Pocono Gateway. But these young teenagers aren't done racing the short tracks. Look at this.
Hey, Mike Wallace, here comes Riley Hearst.
Yeah, guys, you see on the restart where Riley Hearst said, hey, no more racing side by side. Let's get away from these guys. So he fell right in behind Chandler Smith. That's age and maturity coming, even though he's still a young guy. He got in line and they're driving away.
Definitely a lot of maturity shown by Riley Hearst right there. We mentioned he's just 19 years old out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Going back a little bit further in the field, we see the number 28 of Sheldon Creed. Creed currently running in 9th, and it's been a very tough day in his first visit here to Madison.
Yeah, on his outside is Colby Howard. They ran lap after lap at Salem Speedway in Colby's debut. And Sheldon remembers that. He said, man, I raced the 78 really hard all race long. Now he's back in that position because his car is just not right. He wants to get clear of these cars around him to get some pace going, but Creed on the bottom there. Yep, below that patch.
Thought about 3 wide.
Below the patch in turn 2 may mix you up a bit if you're on the bottom heading down the backstretch.
Colby Howard on the outside showing that you can get it done up in the upper groove. But Sheldon Creed, I spoke to him after qualifying, and I said, what do you think? He goes, man, I hate this place. Well, every time you don't do well, it's tough to like some place. But he says it just, it just feels good. My car feels good, but it's just slow. And there you see his MDM teammate Chase Purdy in the number 8 being able to make his way by Travis Braden.
Nice move there again. Braden a bit of a courtesy.
Oh, look at this.
Here we go.
Battle for the lead, no more. Riley Hearst to the front of the field. Forget about that patience thing that he was talking about. You can see the left front brake rotor starting to glow already on that NOS machine.
That's a sign of being aggressive. We'll see if that cools, and we'll see it by the temperature. It won't be as glowing orange as the sun begins to set here in Madison, Wisconsin. One more look at this off of turn 2. Dip and go. Getting off turn 2, a great bite to the bottom. Nice run by Riley Hearst to get the lead.
And it almost looked like Chandler Smith may have shoved the nose and pushed just a little bit. Mike Wallace, what do you got?
Oh, the brake rotors of Riley Hearst's car. Well, the nice thing is Chandler Smith is saying, go ahead and set that pace. I'm not going to glow my brake rotors this early in the race. I want to have them when it counts, which is at the end of the race. So Chandler Smith, being a young man, he's taking care of his race car right now, letting Riley Hearst at a vivid pace.
Brett Holmes in the 23, a left front brake rotor glowing already on that driver. Brett Holmes has had a very tough year so far right now, riding just 1 spot outside the top 10.
There's enough room here to go 3 wide for instant. We see Brad Smith on the inside getting a lap down, but more importantly, Brett Holmes in the number 23, Southern States Bank Chevy. That glow is there all the way around the racetrack. He's trying desperately to get position on Natalie Decker to the inside and get clear here and battle Sheldon Creed, then move forward. He's not able to do it just yet, as Creed, I think, is still going through some handling issues. They take a big swing at the qualifying run, and I think they're still fighting through some handling issues in that number 28 United Rentals Toyota.
Well, honestly, I spoke to his crew chief, Jeff Stankiewicz, and he told me it's been a little bit of a mystery for them. They came in here, they really talked to a lot of people, studied a lot of things, but he feels like they just missed it a little bit. Then they tried to make some changes near the end of the run in practice, and he was hoping it would be better the longer the race went.
Perhaps the first pit stop opportunity. We've only had 2 cautions early in this race. Perhaps the next time Sheldon can make that gamble, because this kid's been fast. He's proven he can race anywhere, anytime. And at Michigan International Speedway, getting an 8 or 9 second lead built up at over 200 miles per hour. He had it handling there. So getting back on the short tracks, getting back at it. We'll see how Creed can follow through and maybe get that spot on this 78 of Howard he's been battling so hard for.
Colby Howard and Sheldon Creed battling for 7th here. Hearst leads. Only 40 laps into this one, but drivers already on pit road. A lot of tire wear here that we always see at Madison International Speedway. The leader, Riley Hearst, came onto pit road in the number 18. But how about the 15 of Chandler Smith, falling way back in this field, leading early now outside the top 10. Mike Wallace, you got more.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we lost his microphone down there. We apologize for some of the audio issues that we've had. And there you see the Venturini Motorsports team looking at the right side and now the left side as well. And you can see a crew member motion to Kevin Reed. They thought they had a tire going down, Jim.
Driver didn't know which tire, but the car was slowing on the racetrack. Lost 5 or 6 spots. And Tommy Vai's spin came out at the perfect opportunity. Vai spun to bring out the third caution of this race. They're looking at the left front, getting some lug nuts perhaps tightened on the car. They're not changing the left front general tire. Trying to get that car righted to the driver's satisfaction. They thought they had a flat. The discussion was 2 right side tires. They did that, but I thought under caution I saw the left front a bit soft, but that could have just been the white wall of the general tire getting worn away from something happening earlier in the race.
I mean, there you see the view right there, and that almost does look like the left front tire might be a little bit soft on that Craftsman number 15 for Chandler Smith. He spoke to us earlier today and said, man, I just need to catch a break. 4 straight poles. He's got, all top 10 finishes, but at the same time, he dominated at Toledo. Had a cut tire and then suspension problems late. He was battling for the lead with 1 lap to go at Salem. Cut a tire, hit the wall. So just a very difficult situation for Chandler Smith. Let's take a look at the last 6 races here for the Sioux Chiefs Short Track Challenge, Madison International Speedway.
Chandler Smith's the pole winner, but guess what? He'd be the first pole winner in the last 6 races if he were to win the race. 0 winners from the pole. Average number of different leaders, we've had 5. We had 13 lead changes last year. The average number is 7. So this track, as much of it's a track position and maybe a single file track at times, we got some great racing here. 6, 7, 8, 9, 13 different lead changes throughout the race.
And I love when you get to the end of this race, like we saw last year with all those guys up front. They lost their brakes. They were just holding on, battling for all they could. Here comes Chandler Smith back down pit road. Kevin Reed, the crew chief for this machine this weekend, want to make sure that there's nothing going on the left side as well. You can see the team jacking up the right side tires and still taking a look at what happened, because Chandler Smith, the big thing about this is the fact that he lost the lead to Riley Hearst. We saw that, and then before this caution, in just a couple of laps, he had fallen outside the top 10.
And now putting a different right front tire on this car, there could be a suspension issue lingering under the hood. Crew Chief Kevin Reed's been to this racetrack before. He's been to Victory Lane with Justin Boston here at this racetrack. Let's see how he can fix this car. And he's now back on the pit road.
Chandler Smith has got to get up and go because he's on the backstretch, and the cars are now heading to that same area. Zane Smith, look at the run that he's got on this restart. Zane Smith in the lead, Gustine in second. The battle for third right now between Eddie Thatcher on the outside in the 20 and the 8 of Chase Purdy.
Gustine went shopping at Menards all day today. Missed a lot of practice. He was at shopping at Menards for the kitchen sink because they threw everything else at it. He was in the furniture aisle. He was trying to find anything to make that 32 car fast. They didn't know what they had until qualifying. Good job by Jamie Jones and Gustine, staying on top of it, making the changes. Gus didn't have a lot of practice, but they kept working on that race car to get some kind of handling, settling down for this car. Launching off the corner is what they worked on. Now he's working on corner entry, and it worked in qualifying. It's working now in the 32 Green Cooling Products, Baker Distributing Chevrolet.
There's the 18 of Riley Hearst trying to climb back through the field after making that pit stop. Currently running in 8th. He's right behind the 25 of Natalie Decker, running strong in the top 10.
These cars have all pitted. We saw the number 78 machine of Colby Howard at the back of the 77. The 18 of Riley Hearst, the first car to make the pit stop of the lead lap cars here. He pitted on lap 39 under that caution. So these cars should pick up speed and position. Tony Breidinger there in the number 55. This is a good learning lesson for her. Getting laps, getting knowledge, getting awareness with these faster cars now racing right with her off of turn 2 here. She's in the white number 55 for Venturini Motorsports in her debut in the ARCA Racing Series.
Breidinger being threatened to lose a top 10 spot. There's Natalie Decker. You see her wheeling that car on the outside of Riley Hearst in the number 18. That is the battle for 7th on the racetrack.
And Hearst is one of those cars that made a pit stop as well. Qualified up front, led this race until that caution. Worked his way back through.
Are you a little bit surprised by some of the strategies? Some guys coming down pit road like Riley Hearst Other guys not coming down pit road, Zane Smith, Gus Dean, Chase Purdy, those drivers elected to stay out, so a little bit of a strategy game in terms of when you're going to take your tires here.
Well, when Josh Williams won this race, he led the last 87 laps because he pitted early and didn't come back to pit road. So these teams are expecting a long green flag run. Whoa, big smoke on the 18 there. That could be a lot of brake going into turn number 1. Let's hope that's all it was. Riley Hearst in the 18.
We'll keep our eye on that for that Joe Gibbs racing car. You can see that brake rotor glowing still for Riley Hearst, but I think you are right. That's exactly what happened down there. A lot of brake pressure applied by Riley Hearst to not get into the back of Sheldon Creed, the point leader here. And Sheldon currently running in 5th.
That banking is a relief to a point when you have a car that's soft on the pedal, where the car does not want to slow when you want it to. Look at this!
Oh, no. Sheldon Creed, the point leader, going around in turn number 4. That will bring out the 4th caution of the night here in Madison.
Creed might have flat spotted his tires enough. We might see our point leader on pit road here. So the cars that did not pit on our most recent caution now into the 4th amber. This could be the chance for Creed to get that car fixed, because it was a lap car that caused the situation, but he's not had the car he's wanted all night long.
Con Nicolopoulos in the 06 was involved in that one. Let's take a look. Watch that 06. They come on that car really quickly. Actually, it's Brad Smith, my apologies, in the number 48, and he was right on the bottom side of the racetrack. But Sheldon Creed and Eddie Thatcher were side by side. 3 wide doesn't work here in turn 3.
And using a slower car on the bottom like a pick there was not the opportune thing for Eddie Thatcher. Maybe should have given him more room in that black 20. He thought, hey, I can pick my guy and get the spot. Really, Sheldon had nothing to do besides lock it down here.
And at the same time, Eddie Thatcher, if he went to that 3rd groove, you don't know what type of rubber marbles have built up there. You could go up there and lose the car and spin it out yourself. So definitely a precarious position there for all of those drivers in turn number 3.
Yeah, Brad Smith was doing a great job. He's like, you know what, my car's not as fast as yours right now in the race. I'm going to make sure I'm low enough on the racetrack, and it became an opportunity to go awry here. Now, again, anybody can pit on lead lap here once the pits are open. They do have 6 additional General tires to throw at these cars on the short track. So there's a set of 4 generally and a set of right side tires at their selection and disposal in the infield.
Hey, Mike Wallace, what went on with Chandler Smith in that 15 team?
Well, Bob, here's what happened. If you look close at the lug nut holes, both the right side wheels, the lug nuts came loose. You can see that they're egg-shaped. That means the car started vibrating real bad, real violently. And Chandler got the car in. They were trying to pit under green. Fortunately, the caution came out. But if you look, that's the front of this tire. Here's the backside. You can see how wallered out the hole is. And that's caused from loose lug nuts. And you've seen them on that second stop come in, and they added 1/4-inch wheel spacers to stick the wheel out a little bit farther because the lug studs are tore up. So they should be good to go for the rest of the race, but that's what caused Chandler Smith's problem.
Interesting for sure. Eddie Thatcher on pit road in that Venturini Motorsports number 20. But in talking about that, the funny thing is during a commercial break, we were taking a close look at the right front tire on Chandler Smith's machine, and we thought we saw a little bit of a wobble. So that would go, right with what Mike Wallace was talking about, in the fact that that wheel was not tight. Those lugs were not tight up against that wheel, and there was a little vibration, a little wobble, and that's what Chandler Smith was feeling.
And we see that number 28 of Sheldon Creed got the chance to come down pit road, as did Tony Breidinger, as did the number 20 of Eddie Thatcher. So Thatcher gives up that track position after that near spin with Sheldon Creed on turn 3 to bring out our 4th caution.
Sheldon Creed trying to work his way back to the front of the field, but we want to make sure that on June 14th you are watching the Sioux Chief Power Pex 250 Elko Speedway, Elko, Minnesota. That's going to be a lot of fun for the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. That is a pure short track, and that provided one of the best finishes of the year, actually, on MAV TV last year. I want to make sure that you're watching the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship Series as well. High Point Raceway, a little old school racing there outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern.
I love how they catch air and can control that bike from midair, tapping the brake, getting the nose dipped down. Great, exciting racing ahead for you tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern.
So Zane Smith, Gus Dean, Chase Purdy, the top 3 on the racetrack. Riley Herbst, after his pit stop, has worked his way back to 4th, with Brett Holmes currently in 5th.
Chandler Smith also and Tommy Vai making a pit stop on that most recent circuit. So they're trying to get their cars squared away. We see the 1 to go by starter Rocky Anderson. 1 lap remaining. We'll get back to racing here after our 4th caution. Just a couple of single car spins. Actually 4 in total. Single car spins, no damage. All those cars are able to continue on here. A couple of cars behind the wall. The 69 of Daryl Basham, the number 11 of Dick Karth. Everybody else is right there with us.
So side-by-side restart here, and we love double file restarts here in the ARCA Racing Series. And right now, it's going to be interesting to see what Riley Herbst can do with a little fresher tires in that number 18. Can he work his way right to the front by that 8, the Bama Buggies car, 4, Chase Purdy, and then the 2 guys in front of him as well with Zane Smith and Gus Dean.
Herbst was not patient earlier. He actually did a nudge and run on Natalie Decker to get position with fresher tires. Now he's sitting in position with cars ahead of him and have yet to make a pit stop. See how this happens on the restart.
By the way, you mentioned Natalie Decker in the 25, currently running in 6th on this restart. Look at Chase Purdy to the inside of that green machine for Gus Dean. The rookie in the number 8. Going up against a driver that has won a race here in the ARCA Racing Series competition.
Chase Purdy did a track walk today with the driver advisor he brought in last week in Michigan to get him comfortable on big tracks. He said, I need you everywhere. Austin Terrio, last year's race winner and series champion, winner here at Madison, has been in this corner, in his ear, telling him what's the best line to run. I asked him, how's that track walk? He said, he helped me a ton. Just what I should expect during the race and the pace that I should expect. Okay, if I'm racing the inside with this many laps on my tires, this is how the car may feel. Huge help for this young man getting acclimated to these race cars.
Gus Dean driving hard and is able to keep Chase Purdy at bay. Mike Wallace, you have more on the 32.
Well, Bob, I do. Gus Dean, I talked to him today, and I talked to his car owner, Kevin Sawinski. Kevin Sawinski won his first ever late model race here at Madison International. Gus says, hey, Kevin, I'm going to go out and win tonight. I am going to drive my tail off, and he's showing tonight that he can get it done. He's up there running 2nd right now.
You know, you mentioned Jamie Jones and the changes that he made to this 32 car. Well, Jamie basically came in, and I was sitting with Gus Dean up in the hauler, and he said, hey, man, I made a bunch of changes, and they're going to be for the better. Trust me. But the bad thing is you're going to have to get up on the wheel and drive it now.
He's doing just that. And again, getting that nose pointed and getting these straightaways lengthened out, getting that run off the inside of turn 2 and turn 4 has been key. And he's made up a lot of ground. Yes, he had the outside on the restart, but right now he's setting in a rhythm. He's got a good pace going. He's right behind our race leader here in the Icon Vehicle Dynamics number 41. That is Zane Smith. Look at his nice true run off of turn 4. As the tires wear, you might see the cars dance a bit. They might get a bit loose off the corner coming down the front stretch.
Zane Smith now leading this race, coming off a very tough run at Michigan. Just 1 week ago, a finish outside the top 10 for the first time in 6 races. Zane Smith, one of the hottest drivers on the circuit. He's leading here at Madison International Speedway. We'll be right back. 70 laps into the Hearst Potato Chips 200 at Madison International Speedway for the ARCA Racing Series, presented by Menard. Zane Smith leading the field, Gus Dean in 2nd. Riley Herbst now running in that 3rd spot after pitting for tires a little while ago. Mike Wallace, what's going on with the number 18?
Well, Bob, the 18 is running 3rd right now, and he's running a real hard pace to keep up with the top 2 cars. But as we talked about early in the race, he is abusing those brakes incredibly bad. You're watching the car get on, and it's glowing the brake all the way off the corner. So he's got to back that thing up if he's going to make it last the whole race.
Definitely going to have to keep an eye on that one a little bit. And we mentioned that. You talked about your General Tires keys to this race, and keeping your brakes underneath you is very important here at Madison.
Yeah, I've seen cars drift up in turn 1. I've seen cars total out in turn 1 against the wall here at Madison. I've also seen cars that have had to slow dramatically and lose many, many positions because those brakes need to get recycled and get cooled off. And once that pedal gets soft and it's hard to brake, we always see the locked up left front of the number 15 of Chandler Smith and that Craftsman number 15. He was a really hard run into turn 3, used a lot of brake there.
Sheldon Creed, your biggest mover so far. Creed up 8 spots, and he seems to be climbing pretty strong right now. We got a report from the MDM team down on pit road from some of their cars, and a buddy of ours, Dylan Smith, reporting that you know, the 28 not all too happy with his car just yet, and he's right now a little tight through the center of the corner and lacking forward drive, and those are 2 things that you really need to combat here to run well.
And he pitted on lap 54 to try to address some of that. Now we see him going through this traffic, trying to keep those brakes a bit cooler. but he doesn't have much time because Zane Smith's pace is an 18.8 second lap. That was his best lap. Now we're back in the 19.5 second range, 19.5. But once you do that punishing lap after lap here on the banking at Madison, that can take its toll if you want to lay back and relax. This is not the track that allows you to do that. Or the pace that Zane's setting.
Creed's got the freshest tires in the top 5 right now. I believe a guy like Zane Smith and Gus Dean, first and second on the racetrack, they're just holding on, figuring out when they are going to stop. Right now, we're 77 laps in, closing in on the halfway point at lap 100. So if they can hold on, remember, they'll have more tires for the end of this race than anyone else, so that might be good strategy for them.
Indeed, and it all comes down to how many cars are on the lead lap. That's another reason why Zane Smith is running this quick pace, trying to get a few cars, maybe a few more, even 1 or 2 more cars. A lap down here would be critical for him. We have 13 cars still on the lead lap here.
Hey, Chase Purdy, by the way, was running top 3 just a little while ago. He's actually fallen back to 6 right now. Here's the 77 of Joe Graff Jr. and the 55 of Tony Breidinger. Breidinger hoping for a good run here. She's coming back actually in a couple of weeks to run the USAC Silver Crown race here for the first time ever at Madison International Speedway. Breidinger running in 13th.
She and her sister have both raced in the USAC Silver Crown Series, but Andy's going to college and Tony's focused on racing. So her mom, Nada, told me today on pit road, she said, we're focused on getting her as much seat time as she can. Tony is really putting a lot of effort into making it a full-time career as a driver in any series. She's hoping to do a lot more ARCA races this year.
And to prepare for this race, Breidinger actually ran a super late model here earlier this week. Casey Johnson, one of the hot shots in this area. You talk about Ty Majeski going to the big leagues of NASCAR. I'm sure that you could say Casey Johnson, one of those guys just under Ty Majeski over the course of the last half a decade at least. And she got behind the wheel of Casey Johnson's machine and she said, you know what, that car cuts so well in the center of the corner. I don't know if it actually helped me or hurt me. Certainly helped me learn the line, but at the same time, this big, heavier stock car is a little bit more difficult to turn.
Her biggest advantage right now is on her radio. Her crew chief is 10-time ARCA Racing Series champion Frank Kimmel. He told me they're working through it. She's not quite to the point where she can tell exactly what the car is doing, but they gave her what she needed. The car was tight throughout practice. That's a condition now a lot of lead lap cars are saying, I've got a tight condition. I can't turn in the center of the corner. So as she feels that, it comes at seat time. And she's getting it here tonight and in the next 2 races in the ARCA Racing Series schedule for Breidinger out of California, making a 3-race run here for Venturini Motorsports mid-season.
Don't look now, but we have a 4-way race for the top 4 spots on the racetrack. Zane Smith starting to fade just a little bit. Gus Dean holding on as well, and the guys with fresher tires, Riley Herbst and Chandler Smith coming on strong here at Madison International. 85 laps into this one. Zane Smith leads Gus Dean and Riley Herbst. 5 laps short of the midway point in this Hearst Potato Chips 200 for the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. Zane Smith still in command of this race. Maybe a little bit of a surprise because he did not have the qualifying effort that he had hoped for with this MTM team. But right now, he has been the king of short track so far this year. A little bit further back, you see Riley Herbst in the 18. Running in second right now. Gus Dean has relinquished and fallen back to the 4th spot on older tires. That gentleman, talk about a gentleman, he's a kid, the 15, running 3rd, Chandler Smith.
He is doing a great job, and because of the issue they had with the wheels, ARCA Racing Series has allowed this team to replenish the right side tires. So they now have the full complement of 6 tires in the pits. So these were tires they put on of the 6 they had in the pit road. Because of the issue with both right side tires and that wobbling out of the loose lug nut situation, they allowed the team to replace those rather than live with what they had. So Smith has more tires to throw at this car. Last time he came down pit roll, lap 55. He is now up to 4th. This kid is going to be a player throughout this race. And notice the number 27 of Travis Braden. These teams started on the front row next to each other. Braden now in 13th position without a pit stop has drifted back and is now a lap down. So this is Zane Smith's favorite part of the race. Long run, let's get some more cars a lap down. So when we pit, when we have to race to the finish, there's less cars to contend with.
Interesting development for sure with Chandler Smith having access to now all 6 tires for the remainder of the race. That will put him on par, honestly, with Zane Smith in the 41.
Yeah, Zane already came down pit road 1 time.
Zane Smith leading here, 101 laps into this one here at Madison. Just past the halfway point here at Madison International Speedway, Zane Smith still the leader. We expect pit stops galore here during the 5th caution period of the day during this 200-lap race. Debris on the racetrack, there it is, the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. Officials picking that up and making sure the track is clean, so when we go green, we'll have some great racing. But before that, Jim, I'm expecting everyone down pit road.
Look to be a grill insert from one of the Ford teams. The Ford bodies, again, these are composite bodies made right here in Wisconsin, at Twin Lakes, Wisconsin, at 5-star stock car bodies. Here we go, halfway through this race already, Bob.
The DuPont Protect Plus mid-race recap. Travis Braden and Chandler Smith battling for the top spot early in this one. A great qualifying effort by Travis Braden, but there goes Riley Herbst by Chandler Smith into the lead, and then Chandler Smith with a little difficulty. A vibration on the right front, loose lug nut, so that team had to go down pit road and correct that.
And I should correct myself. Zane Smith got the lead on lap 39 because he did not pit. Zane hasn't pitted yet. This is an ideal time for Zane Smith to take his first and maybe only pit stop.
A little bit of contact right there between Eddie Thatcher, Sheldon Creed, your point leader. He goes around to bring out the caution once again. And then Zane Smith leading Gus Dean and Riley Herbst. After a tire stop for Herbst, was riding really strong in the top 3, currently running in that 2nd spot. But it's been all Zane Smith for a good portion of the first half of this race. And that is your DuPont Protect Plus mid-race recap. 4 leaders so far in this one, led by Chandler Smith. He has been one of those guys that we expected to dominate, but because of that, he had some difficulty. Leaders on pit road, Mike Wallace. Zane Smith pulls off a pit road. We'll get back to Mike Wallace in just a second. Other drivers down there, Gus Dean, Riley Herbst, Chandler Smith, all on pit road. Chase Purdy, Colby Howard, Natalie Decker. We told you you were going to bring the storm on this one, and pit road was a busy place.
And in very quick order, Zane Smith lapped up to 8th place. Natalie Decker was the 8th car and the last car on lead lap when the caution flag flew. So ideally, Zane Smith, mission accomplished, getting cars a lap down. All 8 lead lap cars came down pit road. These cars are now down 1 lap. Eddie Thatcher in the number 20 machine, 77 Joe Groff, and the 28 of Sheldon Creed had a bit of a tussle just before the caution. I think the tempers got to him here late in the run. Those cars weren't handling correctly, so Groff with the 77 now getting a chance to come to pit road for the big time Ford team.
All those cars on pit road, 1 lap down. And the interesting thing, like you mentioned, we've lapped into the top 10 here in this race just at the midway point.
Just a matter of keeping tires, saving tires, being in a position to manage your tires, but that race pace set early on by the number 15 machine of Chandler Smith. Now the number 20 of Thatcher trying to get up pit road. This is the 2nd race he's ever raced where there's pit stops. So Eddie's like, I'm learning. I learned a lot at Salem. I'm learning a ton more here at this racetrack in Wisconsin, just south of the state capitol.
Eddie Thatcher is a Legends car kid turned late model racer now in the ARCA Racing Series. This is only his 2nd start in any car this entire season, and he told me honestly from Toledo to now he learned a lot, because he said I have to take everything slower here because he's used to a little bit more of a faster pace in terms of the feeling on the car. He says we're running a little bit slower speed in the ARCA stock car than a super late model, a little slower braking, slower pace in general, and because of that he feels like he's going to do much better with that knowledge now here at Madison the 2nd time around.
Eddie, one of the cars racing for Venturini Motorsports. They've got 2 wins on the year. The other 6 wins this year have gone to MDM Motorsports and their drivers. This number 77 team was Cunningham Motorsports for many years. They have a great program. Joe Groff, not a ton of stock car experience. They have it together. Paul Andrews has been the crew chief, 5 rookies of the year in the last 7 seasons. And this team has never finished out of the top 10 since 2011 here, with 1 or 2 cars in the field each and every time. So there's some expectation here to run really well, and they've done that here at Madison.
Joe Groff Jr. running just outside the top 10. Mike Wallace, what do you got?
Well, Bob, I'm up here on the pit war wagon with Paul Andrews. And, Paul, they were just talking about your team, about how strong you've always run over the years. What's happening tonight?
Yeah, we're a little off tonight. Just can't quite get a handle on the up-off corner. He's having a little trouble with his knee also, so we can't use enough brake. But we're going to get it. We're going to be all right. We'll make it a little bit better here.
That's what you got from a great crew chief and a championship crew chief. He's still got confidence in his driver, even though his driver's having a little problem this evening.
Physically fit is Joe Groff. He has overcome that broken left ankle or left foot, his 5th metatarsal on Easter weekend. He's now back to shape, but you know what? That hot day and all this time trying to compress the brake, trying to keep your foot off the brake, he said his driver's having some issues with his left knee, trying to keep that brake pedal to the floor when he needs it.
The 41 of Zane Smith just got a report from that team. 4 tires, no adjustments. That car is smoking hot. Very fast here today at Madison. Now starting alongside of his teammate at MDM Motorsports, Sheldon Creed, the point leader, top 2 in points, the front row on this restart.
Three wide, here we go. Look at this. Gustine does not want to wait, Bob. He knows he has to fire off the corner better. Sheldon Creed right there has to give him room.
Creed opened up the door, slid a little bit high in turn number 2, and Gus Dean filled the hole. Dean in the green machine now in second.
I think Zane Smith was telling me a little bit of a white lie. He said, my car doesn't fire off. It hasn't fired off on these short tracks all season long, and he has the lead. Pulling away from this great battle now in the number 15, running for 3rd underneath Creed, who's still trying to get the handle back and the inside run here.
Creed holding on, trying to get back down to the bottom. That car not to his liking. Crew Chief Jeff Stankiewicz told me this morning this is one of the oldest cars in their stable. After this race, it's going to be retired. They have a brand new machine that they're going to bring out for the next short track event. And right now, Sheldon Creed is just hanging on. So Zane Smith back to the front. Gus Dean back to second. Kind of deja vu all over again.
Yeah, we've cycled through now. The lead lap cars pitting on lap 107. Now we've got 6 or 7, now 8 laps on these tires into the heat cycle, and Sheldon Creed's car is going away quickly here. The 77 of Joe Groff is down a lap, but now Creed is falling back even further. Eddie Thatcher, the next car. Then the 27 car, Travis Braden. These cars again got lapped in that long green flag run. They're fighting their way through as Sheldon Creed continues to drop through the order.
Travis Braden in that number 27, currently running in 13th, 1 lap down, 4th in points coming into this one. Braden has struggled, and it's been a big surprise, honestly, here on the ARCA Racing Series because he's so good in a late model on the short tracks. Creed now falling all the way back to 9th.
Yeah, Braden won the Winchester 400 just a few years ago, finished 2nd last year. 2-time ARCA CRA Super Late Model Champion for Travis Braden, getting his feet underneath the 27, finally getting where they want to get when it comes to the handling feel for that West Virginian. And here he is now a lap down, trying to battle back at a long night here at Madison.
Zane Smith going around the slower car. Brad Smith on the inside of the racetrack. Gus Dean, an impressive run for him and Jamie Jones and Kevin Sawinski's team. Here is Natalie Decker battling to the inside of Riley Herbst. We mentioned earlier, Mike Wallace said maybe a little brake problem for the 18. Problems right there. Colby Howard gets into him in the 78, almost opens up the door for 3 wide racing. You don't want to go anywhere. We got a lot more racing to come here at Madison. Less than 75 laps left here in Madison, Wisconsin, and we have a new leader, or actually a leader that we saw earlier on in the race. Now coming back to the front of the field, Chandler Smith able to make his way by Zane Smith. No relation, by the way.
No, they got a really good pace going, and Zane got a little high off of turn number 2. Chandler got in there. You see him tapping the brakes, sliding up a bit, not too much, and grabs the lead off of turn 4 here at Madison. 5th lead change already, and Chandler told me I was practicing on 70 lap tires. So you mentioned 70 laps to go. This team is prepared to race the duration here in the number 15 machine, and he's looking really strong right now.
Natalie Decker looking very strong in that number 25 machine. She's currently running in 5th. This is her home racetrack on the ARCA circuit. She's won a truck race here back in the day, and she has more laps here on this racetrack than any other racetrack that she competes on in ARCA. But right now we got another car going around here.
Tommy
6th
Vi
caution of the
again.
day.
Tommy Vi, 2nd spin in the 10 car.
So Tommy Vi bringing out the caution. There he is in the Andy Hillenberg machine.
Extreme Cleaner available at Hardware Hank. That team is looking to do a lot this coming season. The ARCA Racing Series, that sponsor has brought Tony Murakovich to the team. Hopefully for Tommy Vi's debut a little bit better.
We'll be right
spins,
back here. Find out what's going on here in Madison. 2 of the top 3 guys in points coming down pit road right now. 133 laps into the Hearst Potato Chips 200. Riley Herbst, one of those with a potential shock issue on the left front of that Joe Gibbs machine. So interesting development, Mike Wallace.
sure what's happening with the 18 car. We're having an issue where Booty Barker won't tell us exactly what's happening, so we're assuming, looking at the crew, their hand gestures, they're having a sway bar issue or a left front shock. They came in.
So we apologize for the audio difficulty that we're having with Mike Wallace's microphone down there. And you know, Mike was saying either a sway bar issue or a left front shock issue. Booty Barker, the crew chief for that machine, playing it close to the vest. You see that in NASCAR a lot if you're on pit road and talk to some of those crew chiefs there. And he is certainly from that mold and not giving up that information here for us today. Sheldon Creed, the 28, also on pit road. Creed came into this caution running in the 9th spot. He's had a difficult time here today and is honestly in jeopardy of losing that point lead to Zane Smith, who currently runs in the 2nd spot.
Yeah, it was a 70-point swing 1 week ago, just by the 1st position to 11th position in the finish of the race at Michigan. Now we find an opportunity. The number 15 machine is also in the owner's points, sitting 3rd in the owner's point standings between now 3 different drivers for Venturini Motorsports. So there's an owner's position change here as well in the overall point standings. So there's a lot going on when it comes to racing each and every time here in the ARCA Racing Series.
We'll take a quick break here, come back with green flag racing action from Madison. Hold on, folks, because this restart is going to be very interesting for the ARCA Racing Series at Madison International Speedway. Chandler Smith, the leader. 4 times now a pole sitter, 4 consecutive races, his first 4 starts in ARCA. That's a record, and now he's leading this race. He's overcome some trouble here today as well. Zane Smith, 2nd in points, 3 wins this season on the outside of the front row.
When everybody made their pit stops, Bob, he came out of the pits 4th, and he's picked off the top 3. The number 15 is Smith. Took the lead over on lap 126. Now we're sitting on a restart. This is a critical firing off point. We'll see if Smith can do something on the outside. It's Zane Smith's first restart on the outside of the front row. And here we go, back to green at Madison.
Zane Smith could be in trouble here. He's got that outside groove. Can he make it work around Chandler Smith? What a run he gets off of turn number 2. He noses out in front of the 15, but can he complete the move? Chase Purdy right behind this pair, ready to pounce.
Zane is driving so hard right now. These are tighter corners than Toledo Speedway, the track most similar to it on the schedule. Zane went into turn 3 last time so deep he was a groove and a half up. Luckily, he had the tires underneath him and the wherewithal and the talent to get through this corner. Turn 4 comes up in a big hurry if your car's a bit wider than you want off of that exit of the corner. Smith does a nice job. Look at this, almost a crossover to the inside of Chandler Smith, filling the mirrors down.
He filled the hole in a hurry, knew that he couldn't last on that outside groove many more laps. Now pulls right in front of his MDM teammate, Chase Purdy. Remember, Purdy had a great run at Toledo just a few weeks back. A 2nd place effort. He comes into this one 2nd in the Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge point standings. By the way, the leader of the race is 3rd in those standings, and the man that sits behind the 8 car in the leader 15, Zane Smith, leads the Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge.
That's what's great about this series. You've got championships within the Short Track Challenge Series, the General Tire Super Speedway Challenge, and the overall 20 race championship. These youngsters are hard at it. MDM Motorsports has put together a great program. For drivers that have not been here before, Sheldon Creed and Zane Smith, they have adapted well. And look at this, Natalie Decker. She finished 5th at Daytona with a very fast race car she won the pole with. Tonight she's fighting for it. Turning the wheel off the corner. She got under Riley Herbst early for her position. Now she's going after Colby Howard here. This is the battle for 6th.
6th place on the line here. Colby Howard on the outside. I'm impressed with Colby Howard as well, the driver out of South Carolina. He came into Salem, ran really well there, scored a good finish, a top 10, and now coming into this race, his 2nd start in ARCA. And Colby Howard, who has won 3 races at Greenville Pickens Speedway in South Carolina this year in the late model stock car world, has a top 10 brewing here at Madison.
Yeah, his dad Rodney is here. His grandpa Buddy was a track champ at Greenville Pickens, a worn out racetrack. Tires that will go away. That's what they're used to at that racetrack in a late model stock. Paying off well for the number 78 driver, the champion Power Equipment Chevy.
I found a little nugget actually. His dad, Colby Howard's dad, actually made 33 starts in the NASCAR Xfinity Series way back when it was called something a lot different, but now it's called the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Natalie Decker really proving that she is trying to fight for all it's worth here. There is Riley Herbst after some front end problems on that machine. We don't know if it was a shock issue, a sway bar issue, but we did see them come down pit road and make some major suspension changes on that machine in the last caution.
Yeah, they pitted twice actually, Bob. They popped the hood the second time looking at the left front suspension. They got a wrench under there. We can't tell you what they did because we don't know. The cameras, though, showed us they got really active under the left front suspension. Crew Chief Booty Barker told them after he exited pit road, he said, we've got what we got. Make sure you can keep your tires under you. Don't over abuse the brakes. We have an issue. We won't be able to fix it during the race. So Riley's struggling now with a car that's not up to song just yet with a suspension issue on the left front wheel. We speculate. We don't know for sure.
How about Tony Breidinger? I mean, she in her first ARCA start running just outside the top 10 in that 11th spot, still on the lead lap for Venturini Motorsports.
She got the lucky dog earlier in the race, but you know what? Every time she's around faster cars, she gets faster. That's about the learning process of what she's done. At age 18, racing USAC Silver Crowns, they start the race on a full tank of fuel. The tires burn off. The weight changes. A lot of characteristics are different as the race wears on. She's now applying that here to this big, heavy stock car at a racetrack. She'll be at 2 weeks running her Silver Crown car. But more importantly, I think she's finally getting some comfort. She's getting some race pace. She's not varying her line or her lap times here. Getting in the groove now. In that 11th position for Tony Breidinger out of California. One of her 3 starts this season. Hopefully a lot more for Venturini Motorsports here in the near future.
So Chandler Smith still at the front of this field, and he's built up a pretty big lead right now in that Craftsman number 15. And the interesting thing about Chandler Smith is, you know, he's one of those TRD Toyota development drivers, and he's getting more and more races. He believes that he's going to be able to compete for the Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge Championship this year because he's planning on, or at least hopes, to run the entire schedule for that series within the series.
5th place at Nashville, 10th place at Salem, and 4th at Toledo Speedway. So if he can make all 11 of these starts, indeed he can win that championship. Kyle Weatherman did it as a young teenager, winning the Sioux Chief Short Track Challenge a few years back. So it is a great way to say, I have proven that I can race on the short tracks with the best in the ARCA Racing Series. All
3 MDM cars running 2nd, 3rd, and 4th on the racetrack. Remember, we mentioned MDM Motorsports had not competed here in ARCA at Madison. Zane Smith in the 41 is 2nd. Chase Purdy now trying to hold on to 3rd because out of nowhere, here comes Sheldon Creed with now a very good race car. So maybe some changes on the last pit stop by Jeff Stankiewicz and that team to make that car better for the point leader coming in.
Yeah, he kept saying tight, tight, tight in the center of the corner means he can't turn the car where he wants to. He's got to really fight it through the center of the turns. In Madison, these turns as the tires wear, get narrower, get tighter, and these cars need more brake to get that car settled for the center of the corner. We see all 3 of these MDM cars now. The brakes are glowing on these Toyotas.
You look at Chase Purdy here, and what's interesting is Zane Smith had a bunch of starts coming into the season, but because of that, you know, it was a number of starts. He still is eligible for the Scott's Rookie Challenge. However, Chase Purdy really, with 1 start coming into the season. So he said, I'm really the virtual rookie out there with not much experience, and it's been a big learning curve for that driver this year in adapting to all these new racetracks.
And rightly so, the only driver that has experience of this trio is Zane Smith. He finished 2nd here a year ago with Venturini Motorsports, his best run with them in 11 races before switching over to MDM towards the end of 2017. He led 33 laps, so he kind of has a feel in the flow of what could happen here late in the race.
Look at this right here. Eddie Thatcher in the 20, the 23 of Brett Holmes. Thatcher running in 7th. Holmes is in 8th, but Riley Herbst is right there. Even with all his issues with that race car, he's still in the top 10.
Looks like he's almost 3-wheeling it there off of turn number 4 in the 18 machine.
Riley Herbst definitely having a tough time with that race car. You can see the juxtaposition of that race car, how it lifts the left front up into the air. That's not how it's supposed to be here. And Riley Herbst, we mentioned, a very busy weekend for him. Right after this race, flying to Iowa Speedway for Saturday and Sunday to make his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut.
He's got it easy, though. He only has to be there by noon tomorrow, on track at 2. Got all time this late. Well, his mom and dad are here. Lori and Troy are ready to take him over there.
He's got actually somebody flying with him as well. Brandon McReynolds, who's spotting for Zane Smith, currently running in 2nd. McReynolds is actually flying over to be the spotter for Noah Gregson at Iowa Speedway this weekend.
It's such an important deal to have a driver with these youngsters of any caliber. Mike Bliss is the
contact in a battle for position there. Brett Holmes into the left rear quarter panel of Eddie Thatcher.
Spotter Nick Mantra on the 23 saying, I think you're clear, he just moved up the racetrack. I'm just saying he might have said that. Look at this run by Brett Holmes late in this race. Nice job getting this car back to where he wants it. And the number 23 machine back in the 8th position, now getting 7th away from Thatcher.
You know, Brett Holmes had a good run at Toledo. A very good top 5
Got in the wall
finish.
there, Bob.
Thatcher did get into the wall in the 20. But Holmes, I said, did you bring that Toledo car? He said, no, I brought the Salem car. I said, why is that? He said, remember before that pit road mishap and that contact that kind of messed up the front suspension, they had driven up from outside the top 10 to 2nd. So that's why he brought that car here. And so far, a decent run for the 23. Riley Herbst down to the inside of Thatcher, moved Riley Herbst up to 8th.
Yeah, that could have knocked the toe out of the number 20 machine. He's fighting his own handling issues in that number 20 machine, that youngster who made his debut at Toledo Speedway. Eddie Thatcher has one more start scheduled in Elko, Minnesota, in ARCA this year for the Venture Motorsports team. The number 20 is what Chandler Smith's been in. It's a matter of team owner points, the team plan for Venture Motorsports. They want to put the best foot forward. The number 15 and Kevin Reed has been their lead horse, and that's why Chandler Smith gets the nod with his strong performances on the short tracks thus far this year.
35 laps to go in this one. Chandler Smith has set sail, a big lead. But the MDM boys battling for that 2nd spot here at Madison. We still got a long way to go. Over 30 laps here at Madison. Chandler Smith leading here, dominating the late stages of this race as we close in on 25 laps to go. Can the guy who has run so well in 3 starts this year win in his 4th start in the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards? We'll find out here in just a little while. Behind that, Zane Smith continues to run in the 2nd spot, but the interval between those two, more than 6 seconds.
What I like, Bob, is the fact that the number 15 car, he's on the same line he's been racing throughout this race. The number 15 machine through turn number 2 is handling it like no one else. He's below that patch, and he's really, look at this, right through that bottom roof, all the way down to the bottom of turn number 2. Then he comes up the racetrack. That has allowed him to get that bigger lead. I don't see anybody else running down there. There's always talking about how to come across that patch or put the right sides on that patch of the turn 2 asphalt. He's completely below it. And when I mentioned that to him as we walked across the track at one point today to back in the pits, he kind of looked at me and said, yeah, I like that part of the racetrack. I want to get up at turn number 2 underneath that black patch. And he's done a masterful job getting that car turned. He said, I want that straightaway as long as it can be.
Well, we had a pass for the 3rd spot. Chase Purdy had it, and now Sheldon Creed has it. Here is the pass going down the backstretch.
Look at this move. We see Sheldon Creed, who made that last adjustment on lap 133. Chase Purdy's been hanging on to his race car. He made that one stop just after halfway, and to the inside he goes, and Purdy had to give him room there. A nice run. He wasn't able to give it to him easily, but the better handling car now is Sheldon Creed's number 28 over his teammate, the Bama Buggy's number 8.
So Sheldon Creed, the point leader in the 28, now running 3rd, 2nd place in points. Zane Smith, 70 points between the two coming in. So Zane Smith, if they were to finish here, is going to gain some ground, but the change for the lead will not happen like we once thought it was when Sheldon Creed was running so poorly.
And Purdy right here has to have a good run. It's building the blocks for the number 32 Augustine, who struggled throughout the season. He's had the speed, but not the finishes in that Gree Chevrolet. So to see him run this well and be that consistent with all the changes they made, and he said Kevin Sawinski, the team owner, was more at the fence than he's normally been because he knows this track so well. He said, I got a lot of tips from Kevin how to race this track on used tires.
Hey, Chandler Smith leading this field. Let's get more on the driver, the 15 from Mike Wallace.
Well, Bob and Jim, you're talking about a boy with a lot of confidence. I talked to Chandler Smith before the race, and he says, we're going to win this race tonight. He said, I feel as long as I can put a complete race together, not tear anything up, he said, I think I can drive away from the field. And you've seen, after the adversity of having the wheels come loose, he stayed there. He didn't tear up the nose of the car at any time, and has drove his way to the front and got a straightaway lead on the field right now. That's confidence.
Definitely confidence. It's also talent. Chandler Smith has a lot of it. Speaking to him earlier, this is his first venture here to Madison, and he told me, you know, honestly, I'm driving the car a little bit differently than anybody else. The way I brake, the way I actually, you know, go into the corner, driving it a lot different than anybody else, and it's paying off for him.
He said on lap 2 of practice, He actually turned so well in turn 2, he went to the infield. He actually knocked the left front. They had to come in and fix it. So there's no apron in the bottom of turn number 2. So he said, I learned quickly this car turns really, really good. So he had to kind of get used to this racetrack with a car that he had to fix initially on the opening laps of practice.
And Kevin Reed, who is the crew chief for Chandler Smith here, built those cars for Venturini Motorsports, the new Rowdy chassis that the Venturini Motorsports has. That team has a couple of them at this time, and honestly, for Chandler Smith, it has really paid dividends, and that kid is one of the future superstars of our sport. So is Zane Smith, running second. The former Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing Series Pro Light champion, Sheldon Creed, in third, and Chase Purdy, who won, I think he won 10 races down at Greenville Pickens Speedway just a couple of years ago, hoping to get back to victory lane. Last year, 5 times a runner-up on the NASCAR Can-Am Pro Series East. This year, a runner-up finish at Toledo. Natalie Decker running well here at Madison, and we expected that, currently in 6th.
She's had a great run now by herself, getting that pace. I know she followed her teammate Chandler Smith for a while in practice, and she was right there with him. So we know the speed's there. Natalie's confidence is growing. She mentioned the injury earlier. She had a hernia operation scheduled right after the race in Charlotte. She got the starting lap at Pocono, and the points there. Had to step out and watch, but she learned. She knows how valuable the seat time is, but watching Brennan Poole run that car so well at Pocono helped her understand perhaps a bit more on a driver-to-driver situation where she and Brennan now are sharing notes before and after the races to get her further clued in on an experience she really wants badly to turn into a full-time career.
Riley Herbst hanging on right now. 12 laps to go in this one. Herbst currently being scored in the 8th spot. We know some sort of front suspension problem on that NOS energy drink number 18. So he has done a good job, the teenager, just to ride, to get that top 10 finish and not get himself into a precarious position. He's currently being scored 1 lap down now in 8th.
Yeah, he's had a good run. He got up to 7th. He was racing quickly with some other cars, and now it seems like the handling has gone away again for the driver who had the lead. Now he's slowing. It looks like he may be coming to pit road.
Hey, this guy has got some mojo going. We talk about that momentum at the top of the show. Gus Dean has it. 6th place at Pocono. A great run, top 5 finish at Michigan 1 week ago, and now comes into this place where he contended for the win 1 year ago, and now is currently running in the 5th spot, going for 2 consecutive top 5 finishes. This Kevin Sawinski Wintron team starting to turn things around. Trouble for Riley Herbst. We saw him slowing, but even more so right now.
Staying on the racetrack, trying to finish it here. We're under 10 laps to go. We see the right front sparking. There's a whole lot going on with that car, trying to salvage the finish, not on pit road, but on the racetrack at a slowed pace. So he's going to ride this one out, of the piers in the 18 machine.
ARCA does have a minimum speed, so he has to adhere to that rule around this racetrack, and the officials in the booth right next to us are definitely keeping an eye on that. But you can see a lot of trouble there and a lot of smoke coming from the back end of the Riley Herbst machine. Chandler Smith getting closer and closer to his first victory here. Just 7 laps to go, and now a 9-second advantage over Zane Smith in 2nd.
Great run here. Again, he takes his corners a bit differently. Some of the cars, even Riley Herbst's car for the Smith team is a concern. He's getting cleared a lot. He's getting told where he needs to be on the racetrack. He is running his own race right now with that bulge of a lead, but he's also coming up on some cars racing for position. So as he gets to the back of the 9th and 8th place runners right now in Colby Howard and Eddie Thatcher, that's another concern as he goes by Tommy Vi in his ARCA debut in that 10 car.
The kid is just impressive, both on the racetrack and off the racetrack as well.
Kevin Reed, his crew chief, said he reminds him with his feedback of Eric Jones. He worked with him when Eric raced and won at Berlin Raceway for Venturini Motorsports. He said he has that kind of knowledge and feedback with his experience. He's much beyond his years when it comes to knowing what he wants in the race car. They made small changes in practice. Everyone seemed to be better with that team. Every change, they got faster, believe it or not, on those older Tigers.
Tough day for Riley Herbst. 4 laps to go, and he's on pit road.
Being sent to behind pit wall, so perhaps that minimum speed did cause that team to be pitting on purpose, and they were told to come to pit road. We see the smoke billowing now on the 18 machine, and as they say, getting a race win in the ARCA Racing Series is hard to come by. Venturini Motorsports has 3 victories since 2011 here at this racetrack, including one by Alex Bowman, who's racing on Sundays in the NASCAR Cup Series. This is exactly where Chandler Smith wants to be. He's been noticed by Toyota racing development as a driver they want to place in places he can run well. Venturini Motorsports is a development team with Toyota ties. So is MDM Motorsports. This is a great opportunity to showcase on live MAV TV what this young man can do with 1 lap to go, Bob.
1 lap to go for Chandler Smith, the driver from Georgia. In his 4th start in the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards, looks like he's going to go to victory lane. It's been smooth sailing for the last half of this race. Just 15 years old, and now a winner in the ARCA Racing Series is Chandler Smith. He gets it done here at Madison. Kevin Reed and that Venturini Motorsports team very happy on pit road.
Great run by that team. A lot of adversity with those loose lug nuts. I don't think getting the extra tires are the difference maker here. I think this kid drove to the field, did a great job, knew he could race and trust this car on older tires. That was the winning strategy.
An early birthday present for Chandler Smith. He turns 16 on June 26th. He'll celebrate here in Madison. The Hearst Potato Chips 200 at Madison International Speedway is complete, and we have another first-time winner here this year in the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. Congratulations to Chandler Smith. We go down to Mike Wallace in victory lane.
Well, I tell you what, a lot of excitement getting ready to happen as Chandler's getting out of the car right now, and his first win. We got potato chips, we got water, we got soda, we got a little bit of everything. You talk about a dominant performance. But all right, big guy, 4 poles, and you got it done tonight, man. That was tires came loose. Tell us all about the race.
You know, it's just it was up and down there, and just like we all stayed calm, did our part. We got back to the front, started dominating this thing. Can't thank these guys enough for all the effort they put. Can't thank Craftsman enough. Toyota Race and Venturini Motorsports, they put a heck of a hot rod tonight.
So tell me, everybody in the garage area wants to know, you're just fast. So what are you doing different than a lot of other drivers?
I don't know. We'll have to figure it out one day.
Well, Bob, well, between Billy Venturini hopped in here, team owner. So the booth upstairs wants to know what the win means to you right now.
It means a lot. It's finally got the monkey off my back.
Monkey off my back, 4 races.
Yeah, 4 poles, 4, and 1 win. So great job. Billy, you've turned your team around. You're sitting on the pole every week. You win a lot of races. What's going on?
Man, we got really good people working for us. Kevin Reed's done a great job. I got to give him a ton of credit. Thank Toyota. They stuck with us this year. Last year wasn't a great year, but this year we got a ton of speed. We just needed to put a race together with him because he's been the best car everywhere we've taken him, and we put a great race together, and we kind of kicked their tail tonight. That was fun.
Okay, so what's this bad omen? The dad gets to kiss everybody.
Yeah,
I just seen that.
I'm not jumping in on that.
Bill, tell us what's that omen there to kiss about?
Oh man, it's an Italian thing, first of all, okay? And it started when Billy won his first race at Salem. You know, I was always taught by my grandfather, don't be afraid to kiss your kids or kiss a man. You know, he'd be proud of it. So when he won, I kissed him. Well, then someone says, well, that's like the Granatelli kiss when he kissed Mario Andretti. So they said, that should be your trademark. I says, okay, so ever since then, first race, I kissed him, and every winner ever since, everyone.
There you go, Bob and Jim, right down from the kisser himself.
Oh boy, the big kiss from Bill Venturini, the 1987 ARCA Racing Series champion. Chandler Smith, Zane Smith, the Smith boys looking good once again. Sheldon Creed, the point leader, he'll maintain that point lead going into the next race, finishes 3rd. Chase Purdy in 4th, and Gus Dean with his 2nd consecutive top 5.
What? Another one?
The Gree Baker Distributing team is on a roll.
Natalie Decker, great job by Natalie, finishing on lead lap in 6th. Brett Holmes rebounded there at the end as well, racing hard with Eddie Thatcher. Nice top 10 run for Colby Howard, just his 2nd start.
Yeah, Colby Howard with his 2nd top 10 finish and 2 starts. Eddie Thatcher's 2nd start provides a top 10 finish. And how about Tony Breidinger? First start, the ARCA female driver from out west, winds up in the top 10. Man, a lot of people would not have predicted that, but she learned so much in this race.
She did. She's also going to race on the big tracks at St. Louis and at Chicagoland. The next 2 races on our schedule. This 20-race campaign rolls on. We're in the middle of 11 straight weeks, so she's getting right back into the car and getting some seat time on bigger tracks.
Zane Smith is now with Mike Wallace.
Well, Zane, you led the race. You run 2nd, you run 4th, you finished up 2nd. Tell us what went on.
Yeah, so that sucks because I thought I had that one, honestly. I led a lot of laps there, or at least it felt like. So I wish it was about like a 100-lap race, not a 200-lap race. I would be sitting good right now. But yeah, I just don't think I had anything for the 15 at the end there. He was just running a lot harder and was able to keep just a faster pace to me. That was all I had in me. I was giving about 110%, and these guys gave me a great car. I think it's maybe a little bit better. I probably could have saved maybe a tiny bit more, but I don't think much more. But shout out to General Tire. They gave us an awesome tire to race with this weekend, and I mean, we had a few really long green flag runs there, and they all held up. So shout out to them, and big shout out to La Paz Margarita Mix, Icon Vehicle Dynamics. My mom, my dad. Wish I could have gotten this one for my dad for Father's Day, but maybe we go get him at Gateway.
There you go, another great second place finish for Zane Smith.
Zane Smith, he is proving that he can be consistent, he can win races. Here is the finishing order from 11th on back. Travis Braden just outside the top 10 after starting on the front row.
Yeah, Joe Graff Jr. had a spin early on. They had the handling off. We talked to his crew chief during the race, Paul Andrews, trying to get a handle on that. That's the first time they've not finished in the top 10 for Cunningham, now Chad Bryant Racing here at Madison. That tells you how stiff the competition is. We have really, really strong field of cars here tonight.
Hey, Mike Wallace, I want to know how the heck did Sheldon Creed wind up in third after what we saw earlier in the race?
Bob Dillner asked up top, Sheldon Creed, how'd you finish third? Early in the race, you were back there in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, no, good recovery there. That was really good, and just great calls by the team all day. We stayed out longer on old tires to get new tires at the end, and that was the name of the game there. That really played hard, and well, we have 75 green there at the end. I tried saving it, not getting loose, not getting tight, and just really taking care of it when I was behind the 8, and I had my opportunity to get around him, so I took that. And then I just tried rolling behind the 41 to see what we had, and there at the end he drove away from us, but happy with that recovery.
Well, Sheldon Creed goes from winning last week on a 2-mile racetrack in Michigan to a nice top 3 here at Madison tonight.
Yeah, Sheldon Creed has been very impressive. One finish outside the top 4 this year.
Is that all? Yeah, Toledo, because he got in with a teammate and got in the wall.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, how about this? Chandler Smith winds up winning in his 4th start. You know, he said finally, and it's kind of funny that you say finally because, like Billy Venturini pointed out, man, you haven't even had a full handful of starts. The kid is talented. The kid is a good guy. You know, he's run a lot of super late model races, started the season off really well at Speed Fest for the ARCA C-Ray Super Series down at Watermelon Capital Speedway in Cordele, Georgia. Won that race and 4 consecutive poles. First 4 starts and now a victory. The kid is on the move.
And give credit to Venturini Motorsports. As these drivers come in this series and learn developing, hey, I've never been to Madison, how do I figure it out? Venturini Motorsports has 4 victories now here at Madison International Speedway. They won here in 2011, the first time ARCA was here in forever with Alex Bowman. 2013, they won with 15-year-old Kyle Benjamin. 2014, they won with Justin Boston, who was full-time for the team that year. And now Chandler Smith adds his name to that win total. I think they might be one of the winningest tracks here at Madison. And Bill Venturini told me today, he said, this has not been one of our better tracks, but they are proving what they did in the offseason between 2017 and 18 lies within these young drivers being able to drive really strong, fast race cars.
Hey, another young driver that had a great run